You're lying in bed. The day is finally over. Your body is heavy, your thoughts are slowing down, and for the first time in hours, you're actually relaxing, 5 seconds away from sleep. And then your entire body slams awake, like someone shoved you off a building. Your heart is pounding, you're fully alert. Nothing happened. The room is fine, you're fine. Your brain just panicked about nothing. This happens to about 70% of people regularly. Almost everyone has experienced it at least once. It even has a name, a hypnic jerk. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what your brain is doing and why it absolutely refuses to let you go quietly into sleep.
First, let's talk about what's actually happening in your body during those few seconds. Sleep isn't a switch, it's a process. And the first stage, called N1, is the trickiest. This is the transition zone. Your brain starts powering down, but your body hasn't fully received the memo yet. Here's where it gets interesting. As you drift into N1, your muscles begin to relax, genuinely, deeply relax, in a way they almost never do while you're awake. And your brain, which has been monitoring your body every second of the day, suddenly registers something alarming. Your muscle tone is collapsing. To a half-asleep brain, this feels exactly like falling. Not metaphorically. Your nervous system is reading the same signals it would read if you were actually in free fall. Loss of muscle tension, loss of postural control, no ground beneath you. So it does the only logical thing. It fires an emergency signal to every major muscle group. Contract. Now. That's the jerk. That full body spasm is your brain hitting the emergency brake on your own unconsciousness. And the worst part? By the time you're awake and your heart is racing, there was never anything to save you from.
So why does the brain make this mistake? For that, we need to go back, way back, to a time when your ancestors didn't sleep in beds. The leading theory was proposed in the 1890s, and it's held up surprisingly well. The idea is this: for millions of years, humans and our primate ancestors slept in trees. Not on the ground, not in caves, in trees. Wedged between branches, curled around trunks, often at significant height. And in that context, the moment your muscles go slack is also the moment you might actually fall. So the brain developed a reflex, a last-second check. Right at the edge of sleep, when muscle tone drops below a certain threshold, the system fires. Wake up, grip something, you're falling. It's a false alarm almost every time, but evolution doesn't care about false alarms. Evolution cares about the one time it isn't false. Think about the math. If this reflex saved a sleeping primate from falling even once in 1,000 nights, that's enough. One survival event per 1,000 false alarms is an excellent trade. Evolution kept it. And here we are, thousands of years later, startling awake in our very safe, very flat beds. Other great apes have this reflex too. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, they all show hypnic jerks. Researchers observing chimps in the wild have recorded them startling at the moment of sleep onset, sometimes grabbing the branch they're sitting on. So the next time you jerk awake for no reason, you're not malfunctioning. You're running firmware that's been in the primate family for tens of millions of years. It just hasn't been updated for indoor living yet.
Now, here's where it gets stranger. The hypnic jerk is stronger under specific conditions, and the list tells you a lot about what's really going on. Caffeine late in the day makes them worse. Not because caffeine directly causes the jerk, but because it keeps the nervous system artificially activated, which means the contrast when your body finally tries to relax is sharper. The drop is steeper. The alarm fires louder. Stress does the same thing. When your cortisol is elevated, your baseline muscle tension is higher all day. When sleep finally comes and muscles release, the drop is dramatic enough to trigger the reflex every single time. Physical exhaustion is the wild card. You'd think that being truly exhausted would mean deeper, calmer sleep, fewer jerks, but the opposite often happens. When you're overtired, your brain is fighting to stay alert even as your body shuts down. The gap between the two systems becomes unstable. The transition into N1 is rougher, more false alarms, which is why you might have noticed the nights you jerk awake most violently are often the nights you needed sleep the most. Your brain trying to help, making everything worse. A very familiar dynamic. There's one situation where hypnic jerks happen almost 3 times more often than in a regular bed. Sleeping upright, on a plane, in a lecture, in a car passenger seat. Anytime your body is vertical and you're trying to sleep, the postural muscles have to work much harder to keep your head from dropping. When sleep finally wins and those muscles release, the signal collapse is massive. The brain's alarm goes off immediately.
Now let's talk about what can come with the jerk, because sometimes it's not just a spasm. During the N1 transition, some people experience hypnagogic hallucinations. These are brief, fragmented sensory experiences.
Images, sounds, or physical sensations that occur because the brain has already started generating dream content before the body is fully asleep. So when the hypnic jerk fires and yanks you back awake, you sometimes catch a fragment of a dream mid-generation, a flash of a face, a half-heard word, the sensation of missing a step on a staircase. The brain was already building a world, and you just walked in on the construction. And then there's the extreme version, a condition called exploding head syndrome, which sounds terrifying, and the first time it happens, it is. Instead of a physical jerk, the person hears a massive sound, a gunshot, a crash, a thunderclap, right at the moment of sleep onset. Sometimes they see a bright flash of light. The event lasts less than a second and is completely painless. Medically, it's harmless, but roughly 10% of the population experiences it at least once, and most of them, the first time, are completely convinced something catastrophic has happened. What's actually happening? The same rogue signal from the brain's alarm system, but instead of firing motor neurons, it fires auditory and visual processing regions. The brain generates a sound or a flash from nothing, a hallucination triggered by its own emergency broadcast.
Children have hypnic jerks more frequently than adults, not because they're more anxious, but because their nervous systems are still calibrating the transition between wakefulness and sleep. As we age, the system becomes more efficient. Most adults experience fewer jerks over time, unless stress, caffeine, or exhaustion push the system back into that unstable zone. Older adults with certain sleep disorders can experience them almost every night. Not dangerous, just the ancient reflex, still working exactly as designed in a world it was never designed for. You lose consciousness tens of thousands of times in your life, and almost every time, your brain pulls the emergency brake at least once before it lets you go. So the next time you slam awake right at the edge of sleep, that's not a glitch. That's tens of millions of years of primate survival instinct, still running in the background, still convinced you're in a tree, still not entirely sure you should trust the ground below you. Your brain is very old. Your bed is very new. It's going to take a while. Do you jerk awake more when you're stressed, or does it happen even on your most relaxed nights? I'm genuinely curious whether there's a pattern. Drop it in the comments.